What's going on, y'all? Today, this afternoon, version 0.12.4 for Escape from Tarkov came out. I played it for about an hour this afternoon, had some issues, and I am back on this evening after they've already pushed out a couple hot fixes, some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, and I'll give you my opinions about everything as a whole. First, we'll talk about my little experience this afternoon, and we'll talk about where the game is right now and how I feel about stuff. So, you'll notice in the bottom left corner of the screen, there are now 2 stamina bars. If I ADS in, you see that top one starts to go down. That is my arm stamina. They separated arms and legs so you can still sprint, and if you get caught off guard by somebody, you have to ADS quickly, that kind of thing. You can swap and ADS as you need. So you see if as I start to sprint, the bottom bar goes away. An interesting thing to note is if you prone out, when you stand, it uses both arm and leg stamina, kind of like you're doing burpees, which is kind of funny. But that's just an interesting thing that I noticed, because now I think the idea is you're pushing yourself up off the ground. So it reduces arm stamina as well, which is influential in like the way that you aim and shoot and stuff. The other really big thing, the thing that a lot of people have a lot of complaints about right now, is that they introduced the weight system. So in the bottom left corner here right now, it says 29.4 kg out of 70. They just adjusted that. It was out of 60 before. They scaled it up by 10 for when you start to slow down. Now at 40 kilograms, it was 30 previously. And then at 60, now 70, you go into over encumbered. Thank you, Rain, for stopping in game. Minus that still happens. The idea here is, and I'm going to pick up this backpack. This is my backpack. I'm in an offline raid. You see in the top left, now you have a little yellow speedometer thing. That means you are past the 40 kilogram mark, and your top speed, the rate at which you slow down, things like that, is increased. Your top speed's reduced, and you go in here, you float over it, make more noise, reduce jump height, stamina drain increase, fall damage increase, and movement speed decreased as a whole right there. You see the movement speed is down. I'm going to drop my backpack again. This is not enough that it's going to change the way my character moves. I think if I dropped my chest rig too, there we go. So now I'm at full. You see that? I should, when I pick this up, it's the reduction from the combination of the two is reducing the maximum speed. That's a product body armor. But if it were enough, and I'm going to run around and try and find more loot so I can show that while I'm going through this. That has changed the game in a big way, because on top of that, BSG went through and reset everyone's stamina and endurance. Mine is level, because I played, like I said, a little bit today, but I'm back down to level 1 endurance right now and level 0 strength, which is terrifying. But it has had a big impact on the way the game plays, because right now, well, but let's look at the way that 12.3 was played. From my experience, and I played quite a bit, actually probably the most in version 12, .12 that I ever had before. And I put in some hours. I started playing in 0.6 for anybody that didn't know that. But 0.12 has been the most time I've put in. And one of the things about being able to carry these giant raid backpacks and stuff around is, even right now, I'm going to put my own helmet on. And I grabbed the loot from Marked Room back there. Like I said, I'm offline. There's nobody here. Is that when you kill a PMC or raiders or Gluhar on this map or Scab Boss anywhere else, you have an opportunity to pick up all that stuff. You get to reap the rewards of what you killed. With a big reset, granted it's a beta, with a big reset now, the reward for killing a thick boy PMC, take out somebody that's really chatted up, is a smile on your face and maybe one piece of loot off of them. You don't really have the carry capacity right now to do anything beyond that. Because everybody's back down to 0. Now, over time, as people play and level up again, that's gonna change, but even, I mean, if you look at, here, I'll even show you 3.6 my current strength. If I chuck a nade, one of the OG ways to level strength, 3.8. So I went up about 0.2, 0.25 off of one nade throw. That's a lot of freaking nades to throw to get your strength up. That's tough. And you really have to be running around for quite a while to level your endurance. Now it's gonna go up fast at the beginning. I'll probably get it up pretty quick over a raid or two, but that's gonna slow down real quick. Even with, and I have an air filter in, so back in my hideout, which is the plus 40% physical skills. That's both of those, and it's not gonna have that big of an impact even compared to like what it was last patch. So right now, everybody's feeling like the game plays significantly slower than it did previously in a really, really big way, because quite honestly, it does. Now it's going to be more about, at least early raids will be more about running in and trying to get a whole bunch of kills and not really getting much loot. Maybe take the attachments off of stuff. You can go for barter goods, things like that. I mean, my coffee beans got added to the game, which is sick. Thank you very much for that. But can of DrLupo's coffee beans. 159,000 right now. Oh my fucking god, bro. Right now, it's like the pace of the game and just the rewarding feeling of getting kills on big money targets is diminished entirely. The backpack that I have on, I don't even really have a reason to run it. You're not going to be seeing people doing item case runs anymore, unless they're psychos. And don't get me wrong, I understand that this is like, it's early game is the idea. You know, right now, I would not have all the gear on that I do on a fresh wipe. So I understand that. But it definitely does take away some of that rewarding feeling of like, man, I just killed, 4 raiders. I can get a bunch of M4s and, stack the mags up and get all the ammo out and all the ridiculous loot. It just won't be the same anymore. So yeah, it is definitely in a different place now than it was before. Let me say the interchange lighting changes that were put in place that do function right look great. We played interchange this afternoon. Maybe Steven grab some clips of that, just show the lighting so you can see what it looks like. It's really good where it works. There are some spots where it doesn't work. Near the end of one of the raids this afternoon, we looked back down underneath the garage, and it was just like, it looked exactly the same. You could see lighting in weird spots just like before. It's a work in progress. It's a beta. Not trying to defend, but that's just a matter of fact. The one last little thing I want to point out real quick, as far as there's a lot of little changes. Look at patch notes online. They're out there. They're accessible. You should absolutely check them out. But check this out. So you'll notice if you watch the way that the run starts. This is normal movement speed. When I start the run now, there's a little bit of a build-up time before the sprint actually takes effect. They have like a wind-up, and the same thing applies when you stop sprinting. It's very subtle, but it's there. So now, even that right there, tap it, and then you start moving. It's changed the way you kind of have to plan your sprint timing, especially because right now everybody's endurance is crazy low. So if you're gonna like make a push on a room, you have to plan ahead of time, because if you intend to start sprinting immediately and then you're like 2 feet closer, that can really throw you off, because you don't want to do like a stutter step into a room and it'll really screw you up. The other thing that they changed, check this out. The lean angle is less substantial than it used to be. I normally would be able to make that lean, and you can't now. If you crouch, it's about the same as before, but the standing lean feels like it's less. And part of that is the sidestep speed is increased. I don't know why they did that. This may play a favor to Peeker's Advantage. If anybody doesn't know what that is, go Google it, check it out. But Peeker's Advantage is super, super important in a game like this, because when latency problems happen, basically I get the advantage when I lean out and shoot down this hallway. Let's say there's a guy right there. When I lean out and shoot, I will have started firing before he even sees me. And with this movement, this sidestep movement speed, I can do things like this. And on his screen, it's going to look like I'm shooting when I'm right here, when I'm actually shooting when I'm right here. Make sense? So, just a bunch of little things about 12.4 that got put out. There's other changes that are out there. The flea market stuff got adjusted already. It bumped up to a minimum of 15. Initially, they already brought it back down to 10, which is good. You don't want to alienate new players. And actually, that leads me into my overall opinion of what this patch is right now. The changes are pretty punishing for new players. Not being able to carry a lot of stuff, getting exhausted immediately, and I'm going to sprint out all my leg stamina so you can kind of see the screen bob, which was way worse before. This already is much, much better. And I have my head bobbing setting in the in-game settings down to 0.2, the minimum. But this, like, this back and forth is excessive compared to what it was before. Like, as in 12.3, but this is way better than it was this afternoon. It was making me want to puke. It was pretty bad. I'm gonna disconnect and go grab a giant backpack full of things so I can show you what the total encumbered movement looks like. And for anybody that has issues with motion sickness, it may in fact play a part in that. Be careful. You notice too, like, you don't do things like recover stamina while moving in the same way that you used to, because it's your stamina level is super, super low. Your endurance is. There's a lot of stuff about that, around that mechanic, that is going to change the way the players play in a huge way. It's definitely going to slow down the game. People are going to play way more passive because of the encumbrance thing. And you're going to, if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to laugh at what you see here in a second. Don't judge me. But here's all my backpacks, 115 kilograms. This would be like a 3 PMC kill run where you get all their stuff out and are gonna, go kick some butt in the next one because you're gonna run out of stuff. This is offline. One of the things that you should know about the head bob mechanic: when you walk in real life, your vision bobs, but because your eyes lock on a fixed point far away, you don't feel the head bob motion sickness kick in because your brain is just like, nah, you're good, don't worry about it. Obviously, I'm not an expert or anything like that, so do me a favor, Google it and look up some information about how the brain processes movement and imagery through your eyes when you're moving like that. Like when you're sprinting, that's why you don't get sick while you sprint in real life, because your eyes, you fix on a target in the distance. You don't in game, and so it makes people feel like poo. I'm all about realism until it is too real. So this is, you see the bottom left, my movement speed when I'm carrying 115 kilograms is nothing. You ready for this? This head bob, and you see the tilt with it too, this is way better than it was, but it's still pretty bad. And so when you're walking along, you're like, trying to look at that. Oh, geez. This might be because my strength is basically nothing. This might be because my endurance is super low. My stamina's already out. Watch this too. So I'm fully encumbered. You see the red in the top left now. When I crouch is when I finally start to get stamina back. It's like I had my legs shot out, but this afternoon it was even worse. And Steve could throw in a clip of that real quick, like 3 seconds, so you can see it. Oh, this fucking head bob is insane. Yeah, it's bad. This is better. This is better than it was. But I stand up and look, my stamina, because I'm over encumbered, just starts to drain immediately. This isn't as bad as it was this afternoon, but it's still pretty tough. These are the kind of things, like, maybe we're too geared for what it was initially intended at level 0 strength and endurance. I'm actually so encumbered now that I got another debuff here, fatigue, where you just start to lose energy. Look, it's going down by it's a little bit of a kick up. It's like 0.3 higher. I think it was 1.9 before, but this is like, sprint is impossible because you're overweight. I can't even stand all the way up. It's actually reduced. If you look on the left side, I'm 1 tick down, and if I see a mouse wheel up, it ain't doing anything. I can't get any taller than this. Prone movement drains stamina, and stance blocks stamina regain. So you have to, like, if you have to be proned out or crouched in order to get stand back when you're over encumbered. And I don't think that's going to change too much. I think that's a mechanic that at least right now they're putting in the game intended. And quite frankly, right now I kind of feel like this about it. It does not feel good. Ultimately, my opinion on 12.4 is this: it feels tough for the pace of the game that we are used to playing at, because ultimately it has slowed down the game as a whole. Whether that is due in part to the fact that we are level 0 endurance and strength now and have to re-level those and see how it feels again once we get high. Lol. Maybe that's the case. Maybe we got to kick it up, and it's like, maybe we are baby birds right now. But the entire idea of, like, why do I have a backpack in the game that's that big? You won't catch me running raid backpacks anymore. There's literally no reason. It is interesting that they're doing this. I'm curious to see how the game does over the course of the next 2-3 months. I'm always open to new stuff, and maybe my opinion right now is not going to be true of how I feel in the future. As a logical person, I reserve the right to change my opinion as I get a chance to play and really experience how the game evolves off of that. And BSG could make changes, tuning changes to it, that kind of thing. But right now, doesn't feel great simply because we're used to the pace of the game being at least a little faster than that. Not like it was COD level speed for everybody. Some people could play like that. But like, you look at those changes right there, that to me screams exfil camping for players, because they don't want to carry the loot around. They want you to carry the loot around, trudge your way to the extract, and then they'll shoot you in the face, take your stuff, and get out. So we'll see. I hope it improves over time. And there you go. Use code DrLupo. Use code